Congratulations to the two of you. That is really good. My phone is now freezing, so I'm just having a look. I don't have the measurements of bird beaks, but I shall try and find that. It'd be interesting to know, in comparison to the other herons, how much more beak it has, how much more stabbing power, spearing power it actually has. But being very, very patient. We were here just now. It was not around, so it's only just arrived. Okay, I want to show you a picture very quickly. I'm just doing 500 things. Who wants to see Ralph stuck? I bet you're all going, me. Hang on, before I do that, hang on, I have to do something. Give it a good old wipe, because I've got sunscreen on my hands, and I think I've left all that residue now on my screen. There we go. There's Ralph. Well, you can't see Ralph, but you can see his car. It kind of looks like the last time I was, well, 2 times ago, when I was stuck down in the Maasai Mara reserves. So there we go. It's so great, isn't it? Amazing. Right. Let me move my phone now. There we go. So it seems as though birds are on the brain of all the guides today, us included. James is now following in suit. He's also got a rather large bird that likes to stand on 2 legs.
Birds on the brain is better than having a bird brain, which I'm very pleased Taylor did not tell me I had. I thought she might after my marshmallow king and queen comment. Ha 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 ha. That, of course, is a sadly billed stork that you're looking at. And there's something quite, and a wildebeest. There's something quite interesting about that sadly billed stork. More so than the wildebeest, I feel. And I've not noticed it before. It's a female, that I have noticed before, and you know that because she's got yellow eyeshadow around her eyes. But the slight gap in her, between the top and bottom mandibles, so between her top and bottom beaks, there's a slight gap there. And it reminded me, of course, of the open bill that Tristan found the other day at Chitwa, and it managed to open up a mussel and eat that, a freshwater mussel, which I didn't even realize occurred around these parts. And I wonder, we've just seen that stork try and eat something that looked fairly white at this distance, and I wonder if it wasn't the same sort of thing. So let's have a look-see. The wildebeesties have had their drinky. And Postsider, you say that it's such a pretty bird. That it is. It's a stunning bird. Endangered bird. Many of the storks are. Not as much as the cranes, but these storks are endangered. And it's always a little bit worrying when you see one like this, because they should occur in pairs. They do choose to live in pairs if they can. Maybe this one's just had a fight with her husband, who has irritated her to the point that she's unable to spend time with him right now. She's told him he'll never understand, and she's flown off in high dudgeon. That, of course, my dear, is because he will never understand. You're just going to have to be patient with him. Yes, that's what I'm saying. Just patient. They're simply not as clever as you are. Matt, you're wondering if those sort of bubbly things in the water are raindrops. They most certainly are not raindrops. I think, you say, is it insects or things living in the water? I think there are insects. I think also that there's quite a lot of gas being released from the mud underneath, from the activity of the fish and the frogs and that sort of thing that are sort of trying to eke out a living in that rapidly drying water. There are terrapins under there. There's a lot of life underneath the surface, and I think that's what's sort of breaking the surface tension. Alrighty, I think that as we now have a little bit of shade from this large cloud, we should press on from here. Our next port of call is going to be Treehouse Dam, which is not too far from here. I'm hoping that we'll find some elephants over there. That would be very nice. We may just find one limping Egyptian goose, however. Let's go and see. Are you ready, David? David is ready, everybody, in case you were worried. Right, well, while we get there, Steve Ovo is on his way to Chitwa Dam and hopefully some wild doggies.
Thank you, Mr. Henry. Indeed, we are on our way down. And I believe you have got intentions of going past Treehouse Dam. We have decided just to pop in there on the way down just to see who knows what is happening. It's just a bit of a view as well. We had a wonderful little sounder of warthogs just before, but they don't stick around very long. And I was wondering and chatting with VM, and he had the same sort of thoughts as me before, that I wonder if the warthogs associate the vehicles with leopards. Maybe they watch Safari Live as well and notice all the leopards that we see, because I have not seen a warthog stick around for more than about 5 seconds in this area. So maybe they are YouTube subscribers as well. I wonder how they tweet with those little feet, but an interesting thought to ruminate over. But we are not far from Treehouse Dam, so I do believe, James, we might beat you there. But something we do have to do, we have to be quite careful, because the storm looks like it is really moving in very, very quickly. I mean, the sun is almost obliterated, and we are very happy about that. But we do have a lot of expensive camera equipment on the vehicle. I don't mind myself personally getting wet. I am waterproof. But we might have to rush home if we do have any activity with regards to rainfall. We might have to rush all the way back to put a roof on and cover ourselves, just in case. But we're going to keep an eye on that rainfall, and we will keep you updated. We're about to get to Treehouse Dam now. Always a good spot for elephants. But really the temperatures are changing, folks. I wonder if you were able to feel it out here. It would be wonderful. It has just dropped by about 2 or 3 degrees already. I'm not feeling as melted to my seat as I was about 5-6 minutes ago. And we are constantly scanning and scanning and scanning. Well, there's nothing over here, so I'm going to let Mr. Henry continue with his effort to come here. Scarlett has a question, so how bad are the storms? Well, we can get thunderstorms and the rain can come in, and it is quite interesting because sometimes the rain can be very, very sort of one place. Sometimes it can rush through the whole of the low veld and it can really wet everywhere, and sometimes you can see it just go straight by you, lightning and everything. So I wouldn't say that they're bad. I grew up in Johannesburg where we get wonderful lightning storms. If you're not used to having beautiful lightning storms and very loud cracking sounds, it's something to get used to, but I was born like that. I grew up like that. I think I actually sleep quite well in that sort of rain, but I wouldn't say that they're bad. It's actually very important for the nitrogen fixation. The nitrogen gets delivered back into the soil with the lightning. The storms can be quite quick, 15 minutes, 2 hours. It all depends on how much rain. Oh, there's a beautiful bird, my favorite bird in the whole world. Where is he? Oh, he's landed over there, V. Can you see him? He's just at 2 o'clock. Let me just move forward. This is my favorite little bird in the whole world, folks. Can you see him there, V? Just over my shoulder on that little log with the little red tail. There he is. Fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, that is my favorite little bird. It's called the green-winged Pytilia. Oh, way to go. It is indeed a beautiful bird. We've got a couple other little birds jumping around, but the Pytilia is gone. I don't know if you noticed, just really briefly, it had its beak was open. That's because it's very hot still. They have no ability to sweat like we do. What have you got there, V? Are you looking, eh? Oh, he's gone very, very quick. I'm surprised we managed to get that on film. That is one of those birds that just disappears really, really quickly. It's the reason I wear binoculars on my chest. It's the reason why guides should have binoculars at the ready, because they can come and they can go very, very quickly. But onwards we go. Chitwa Dam awaits, and yes, we are loving it. We are loving it. So that used to be known as the Melba finch. It is a very small little finch-like bird, as the name implies, but it's been renamed the green-winged Pytilia, and the coloration on him is just sensational. I'm glad you all got a visual. If there's anyone out there who didn't get a look, please just comment and I'll show you a little picture on my phone app. And it is a little seed-eating bird, often found in mixed feeding flocks with waxbills and other finches and sparrow-like birds on the ground feeding on seeds. And this is a time of plenty. It is a common bird in the area and it does not migrate away. It does stay. And they will be rebreeding quite soon. Sure, temperatures are so much more pleasant right now. I think the birds are noticing. They can feel the storm is in the air. There's that eerie feeling that the light is changing. You can probably see it on the camera. The light is changing. I absolutely love... Whoa, sorry, we have a roadblock. And you see them? There we go. Little crested francolin walking around. Apologies for my head. You see that white supercilium, that eye stripe, characterizes or makes it different from the Natal spurfowl, the black beak rather than a red beak, and they feed on seeds, insects. Not sure what they were busy plucking off there. Possibly little caterpillars that have been hatched and growing underneath and feeding on the leaves. Oh no, it's the whiteberry bush. It is feeding on the berries of the whiteberry bush. I didn't notice because none are very white. That's why when we find them and the berries are white, I try to eat them, because there's so many animals out here, birds and monkeys, that feed on those berries that you've got to get to them really quickly, because they're feeding on them when they're unripe now. So you've got to feed on them when they're white, otherwise they're very sour pips inside. But these birds can digest them, and then those seeds are then distributed. That plant is now going through a symbiotic relationship with that bird. That bird has eaten the seed, and it has taken the flesh off of the fruit. It's the reward the bird gets for eating the fruit, and then it'll distribute those seeds in the next few hours far away from the parent plant. It's important for plants to move their babies away. If all the babies grew at their feet, they could be competing with light, sunshine, water, nutrients, moisture. So, you know, at some stage you've got to kick the babies out the nest, and they've got to fledge on their own, and plants do that by fruiting. So whenever you eat a fruit, think about it. The seeds are designed to go somewhere else, and that is the entire purpose. Okay, so we have Taylor up in the Maasai Mara. We're going to be going across to her, I believe, shortly, where it is colder than here in Djuma, a lot colder. And I think she's driving in the cold. I'm not sure what she's up to, but I had a little giggle just now at Ralph, because Ralph is stuck, and Ralph is obviously properly stuck. He is properly stuck. We've got some birds there. They are enjoying the last thermals in the afternoon. There we go, that's a vulture. Anybody see which vulture that is? Okay folks, so while these birds soar, we're going to be going up north to Taylor, who's driving around in the cool of the Mara.
It's cool, but at least we've got the golden light out this afternoon, so not too bad. We passed Hippo Pools and we found our Lioness. I thought she'd disappeared. All she did was she just climbed onto the top of the embankment, making it virtually impossible for us to see. I could just see this tanned figure laying behind a small thicket. So I thought, okay, rather than waiting for her, let's go up to the next set of lions, which are slightly closer to the road, and I think we might have a bit more luck with. And also, if they move, they're going to move onto off-roading area, which is good, and it suits us a little bit better. But I'm trying to find that crowned crane nest that I first spotted, and what I need from you, I'm asking you all lots of favors today. Thank you and sorry. Can anybody remember when I first found it? And we noticed that she was nesting. I just want to get the date because we need to try and work out when those chicks should hatch. I mean, there's of course a possibility with that crown crane that none of those eggs are going to make it, that they are predated on by water monitors, by hyena, by lions, by lots of different animals, or just that all the chicks get eaten already. But I haven't seen her sitting on it again. But I also, to be honest, I can't really remember where on this road it was. But I'm looking. I'm trying my best to find it. But if you guys can find that out for me in the meantime, that would be fantastic. That would be really good. So just so that I have an idea in the back of my head. Remember to always hashtag Safari Live. Now I just stared into the sun. That probably wasn't too good. There is the vehicle coming up ahead. So I'm going to pass them. Probably going to try and get around them. We're going to keep going until we get to those lions, just because the weather has turned so nicely now. It's nice and cool, as Steve was saying. Right, I'm just going to pass through here, wave to all the nice people. Hello, nice people. They didn't wave back at me. That's a New Year's resolution. Here we go. I'm going to create another. Did I come up with one already? I think I may have said one the other day. I've already forgotten what it was. But I wave at everybody and everything. It's just my thing. Done it since I was little. My mom has always told me to wave at people. Oh, okay, cool. I will not be disheartened this year, this 2018, when people do not wave back. Because I get a little bit sad when people don't wave back. I don't know why people find that so strange. Just to different types of waves, queen wave. I don't know how other people wave. Wash the windows. I wouldn't wave like that. I just do the classic. Sometimes I end up doing a queen wave. Manu and I play games with all the people visiting the Maasai Mara. They don't know us. They don't know how crazy we are. So we play a stage. We wave normally, and then if one person waves back, then you go to the next level. Then you do the queen's wave, and if they wave back to that, then you get more like sort of ridiculous with your waves. We don't normally end up getting further than the Queen's wave, unfortunately. Perhaps I need to work on my technique. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. But anyways, that's always fun to keep us entertained. I'm just going to keep searching around here. I'm keeping an eye out for those lions because they're somewhere around here at some point. I believe you're all still thinking. I bet you're all digging in the archives now, the photo archives, as to where on earth and when did we see that crown crane. Was it the same day that we saw the juvenile martial eagle eating the water monitor? Was it that same day? I'm trying to think. I think it may have even been before then. Not that I could tell you when that was either. Like I said, time flies. Okay, we're going to keep heading down this way towards the small sausage tree pride of lions, I think, I hope. And it will take us a little while to get there. James, however, is also on a Sabi sand bumble. James, are there any caterpillars on the Weltharias? That's what I'd like to know.
That's the one, David. That's that, you've got it there, middle of your screen. Beautiful. Now, I have decided to go and do a patrol of the hyena dens. I didn't realize Stivovo was going to Treehouse Dam. And so what we did was go to... What?
Is there any caterpillars on the Weltharias?
Are there any caterpillars on the Weltharia? This comes from Taylor McCurdy. Not that I've seen, my dear, no. I will search them out for you, however. Acria, we'd expect to find. Now, what was I waffling on about? Hyenas, yes. I came to check the Gallagher shortcut den, and now we're going to the Mvuburo den, because a hyena dragged that elephant afterbirth from yesterday. If you weren't with us yesterday, Tristan just missed an elephant birth, and the afterbirth was there, and it was picked up by a hyena and dragged all the way past our camp yesterday evening. And that is normally the behavior of a female taking it back to some cubs at a den. And so I'm wondering if we don't perhaps have an active den that we don't know about here. So we're going to check all the known sites and then see what else we can see. I will certainly look for caterpillars on Waltherias, but I have seen very little on the Waltherias, and I've been watching them quite carefully on walk. Okay, we're going to lose some signal here, and regardless of that, Stivovo has managed to find himself some gammon.
Gammon indeed. Gammon indeed. So this suddenly proves Wildy's and my theory completely wrong. Or maybe this old boar is quite boring and doesn't watch Safari Live, because he doesn't seem to be at all worried about this vehicle. A question I meant to pose to all of you out there, and I apologize for not posing it before the break, but send your comments through. Anybody identify that bird that was flying just before? Please send your comments through and see how many of you were able to identify that beautiful large flying creature. But here we have a male warthog. You could tell that by the testicles behind and underneath his tail. That is a dead giveaway. And secondly, you can see the 2 pairs of warts on each side of his face. You can see that, and those warts are where the name comes from, and the main purpose of the warts, actually extensions of the skull, is to prevent those tusks when these boars fight. When they fight, they are quite aggressive, and they lift each other up, and those warts prevent the tusks from coming up and endangering his eye. So, C-Nut, you ask, would wild dogs attack a warthog? Most certainly they would, but a boar like this, they'd be hard pressed, I would say, because if he turns around with those tusks, they're very powerful neck. If you see how he's feeding there, his neck is very low down. They've got a very powerful neck. I've seen warthog males fighting head on, and one completely flipped the other one over onto his back. Very, very powerful. I'm not saying wild dogs wouldn't. I'm not saying it hasn't happened before. I'm not sure. But they are very fast. He'll generally try and run towards a burrow, and then when all else fails, he'll turn and face his oppressor, or his pursuer, should I say. Not the smartest of animals, but very instinctive. And I think he's been for a little bit of a mud wallow. But we are not far from where we last saw the wild dogs, and I also believe that little Husana is in the area somewhere, but there's been no sign on the radio of these animals. So we will see if we have any luck. But you can clearly see the boar is grazing, and his bottom teeth, or little tusk-like appendage, is very, very sharp. Hello folks, good afternoon. Beautiful. Not too boring, I hope, eh? Sorry, I'm cracking jokes with one of the vehicles from the Korokoro Bush Lodge. Beautiful. He is just muscle, folks. He's absolute muscle. And you can see he is grazing. Karen asks why aren't warthogs hunted for their tusks, and it's not ivory. It's not true ivory. But that is a good question. I mean, they are the same sort of design as elephants. Yeah, that's a very good question. I mean, I do know that there is a value to warthog tusks, but nowhere in the range of elephant tusks. Mainly because elephant tusks, I think it's got a lot to do with weight. It's not ivory. It's not ivory. But he's quite aware. But I was saying before, I don't know if you can get right in on that face, Vildy, but what is that? That looks like a steenbok coming through there. Yes, it is. It's a little steenbok. It's quite low in the grass, and it's giving the warthog the impression of a leopard. And you can't be too careful. Here he's going to investigate. See, it's not uncommon for a herbivore like this to actually, especially a big male warthog, to sort of chase a leopard, to show him that he's strong, to show him he's not scared, and as soon as he is afraid of the leopard or feels maybe running is a better option, he will turn and flee. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Another vehicle from Korokoro Bush Lodge. But the teeth actually the action of his mouth coming up and down. He's got these smaller teeth just underneath the tusks. You can just see them there. Look at that. Those are the ones to worry out for. Every time he opens his mouth, that lower jaw tooth, I forget the name right now, is sharpening itself against the top one, and if he had to swing at you and open his mouth, that would sever any artery, any skin. It would completely tear through whatever it actually, whatever it hits. Extremely powerful head, very sharp tusks or tushes, and those lower jaw canines, what are they called? I'm forgetting right now. I'm having a blank moment. I apologize. But that is the dangerous part of the warthog. Kobe, aged 15, it's a very good question. He asks, how dangerous are warthogs on foot? And the only time you have to worry about them is if you are walking past an aardvark hole or a termite mound with a burrow in the ground, and you stick your head in front, because these guys, they go in backwards and they come out frontwards, and it would knock you over and it would hurt you, but they would run away. They do always run away when they see you. It makes quite a frightening sound when they move because they're very powerful animals. When I was training trails guides many years ago, well, a few years ago, many times the students who were walking in the front would actually lift their rifle because a warthog would run to or past them, and the noise and the sound and the size, just that sort of size, it always gives you the impression of something that's quite dangerous. But it's just the movement, the quickness of the movements, and they're generally always fleeing away. So not dangerous. I've never had any dangerous encounters with warthogs, but I did once have a student who nearly got cleaned up by a warthog. We were investigating the site of a lion kill. The lions had killed a female warthog not far from this little sort of termite burrow tunnel network, and we were looking at it, and we basically had stopped, and I was with students, and we were trying to find and the one leg was there and the carcass was all over the place, and we'd seen where the warthog had come from. It'd probably come out of the burrow and the lions had got it. They'd been stalking around the burrow, and so while I was a little bit away from the burrow, the one student decided to have a peek inside after being told not to, and the student's name was Paul Lyons. He's out there somewhere, and he regales the story far better than I do, with a lot of body posturing. But the warthog came out, another warthog who'd probably been in there the entire night, hearing its mother or sister or whatever it was being eaten alive by lions, now suddenly came out and found itself face to face with 5 or 6 humans. And it kind of leapt out of the hole, almost like a cartoon, with all 4 legs spinning in the air. And as it hit the floor, it just took off directly for the student who did the most amazing matrix sidestep. And the warthog went straight past his leg, and he was fine. But the story will never, ever be forgotten. I saw it, I was shocked, I suddenly was powerless to do anything about it. But luckily he was quite nimble. I'm sure he did a bit of yoga. But that was a very close shave. And there are stories of trails guides who've been in the bush for 27, 28 years. No incident with a dangerous animal, but they've had a guest who's been flattened by one of these coming out of the very same hole we were talking about. So that is where you have to be careful. Don't stick your head around the corner or stand in front of a burrow. You don't know what could be in there. And when they want to come out, they come out face first and very fast. So folks, this is an awesome sighting of a male boar. He's probably been wallowing to keep himself cool, as I would love to as well. The spa is just over there, but we're going to carry on down to Chitwa Dam, see if we can get any more information about the wild dogs. And I believe Mr. Henry is up to something. I'm not sure what, so let's go over to him and see what he has for you this afternoon.
I think we're live. Are we live? Oh, hello everybody, we're live. Not sure how we became so live so fast, but here we are, and luckily I didn't drop any nasty words, which has happened before. Over here we have the Hyena den off Mvubu Road, and I'm afraid there is nothing there. I thought maybe there would be some hyena there, but there are no hyena there. We did go off on foot. We found a few tracks of what possibly were warthogs about 6 decades ago, but otherwise very little going on here. And David was just saying, why aren't they here? This is the most sort of wonderful neighbourhood for a hyena to live in. And they obviously don't have the same tastes as David and I do as far as accommodation goes. Anyway, so we've given up here, and now we're going to head across to Beefleshoek Dam and see if we can find one hippopotamus and one three-banded plover. There have got to be some elephants somewhere around who need a drink today. This is the perfect day to be sitting next to a waterhole watching elephants. Hello, Hampus? Was it Hampus? Hello, Hampus. You want to know how big the Sabi Sands? The Sabi Sands is about 60,000 hectares or so, which, if you multiply it by 2.4, will give you roughly, I suppose, 140,000 acres. Now, we are operating at Djuma. Djuma is, if I'm not mistaken, 1,200 hectares, which, if you multiply by 2.4, gets you to roughly 3,000 acres. That's what we're operating on Djuma, and then about half of that again on Chitwa. So that's the extent of our traversing in the Sabi Sands. Luckily, a very game-dense region, and I mean, we've had in the last 2 days, we've had leopards, wild dogs, elephants, lions we had this morning. So lots going on here. The Maasai Mara, of course, 150,000 hectares on its own. If you multiply that by 2.4, you're sitting at roughly 450,000 acres. That is a big piece of land that we're allowed to explore that side. I must confess, I was quite worried when we went to the Mara. I thought to myself, well, you know, our patch at Djuma is going to seem fairly insignificant after the Mara, and it really hasn't. The intimacy of this area is just really noticeable compared with the, well, spectacular, no doubt, Mara. It just doesn't feel quite as intimate. There we have some impalas. There are those antelope things there, David. There we are. Well done. 2 males. And you can tell that they are now 2 and a bit years old. Their horns have yet to do the final swish out. So basically, of course, because we know they're born in the beginning of December, call them December the 1st. In the first year, there won't be any twist in the horn. There'll just be 2 sort of horns facing each other. And in the second year, they will start to have the twist that they do now. And after this, in another year's time, they'll just start to get wider at roughly that shape. Zish, you're wondering what type of species impala are. Well, they're antelope, so that's the family that they belong to. They don't have any close relatives. They're very ancient creatures, and so they don't really have any close relatives at all. I don't know if I can be any more useful than that to you. Zish. So they're an antelope species. There's no other representative of the genus they fit into. So every creature out here has got what we call a binomial name. It means it's got a genus and a species name, the most obvious of those being Homo sapiens, that's us. And impala, for example, are Apsirus melampus, and there is no other Apsirus. In the same way that there's no other Homo, we are the only Homo species. There's no other Apsirus species, but if you compare that with something like Nyala, which is... Ooh, there's a little canary. Sorry, I've got a bit of attention deficit disorder. He's flown off. Never mind. Okay, so if we go to the Nyala and the Kudu and the bushbuck, they are all part of the genus Tragelaphus, and they've all got their own species names. So I hope that kind of answers your question. If it doesn't, please feel very free to get back to us and say, no, James, you idiot, that is not what I was asking. Please clarify. And I shall do so with gladness in my heart, although sadness that I didn't get it right the first time. Alrighty, Steve's found a very interesting bird. Let's go and have a look.
And folks, we have found indeed a very interesting bird. This, folks, I wonder if any of you out there with your phone apps or your bird books is able to identify this. See if you can have a look. This is only the second one I've seen in about the same amount of years, so quite special to see. And it's quite easy to identify if you understand the family. Kind of got like a face of a pigeon or a dove, but it is not a dove. Got a little yellow ring around the eye. And sort of a yellow beak, and the tip is a little bit black on the end. I wonder if anyone out there can quickly tweet, tell us what they think it is before it flies away. It is a migrant. Very, very important migrant. Well, I wouldn't say important, but one of the cool migrants we get down here. Sitting in a tree, he's enjoying the coolness. It is an insectivore. Eats mainly caterpillars, as most of the birds in this family do. Lioness or Lioness, yes, indeed, it is a type of cuckoo. And which cuckoo could it be? Which cuckoo? Anybody? I wonder. I'm so happy he's sitting around. We had one the other day who flew away quite quickly. So it's quite nice that he's sitting there. I know the light's not great, folks, so I'll play the call for you. Project Alpha, no, unfortunately not a greatest spotted cuckoo. The greatest spotted cuckoo's got a little bit more of a crest on the head. This is fun. This is fun. Very easy when you know what it is. Oh, Wendy, close guess, not a European cuckoo. Last chance, folks, last chance before the bird flies. It goes cuckoo, cuckoo. I just played it. Eats caterpillars. We definitely know it's a cuckoo. Well done for getting that far. If the light was better, you definitely had a better chance of identifying it. Catherine, you are the winner of the first prize today. It is indeed an African cuckoo. Very, very, very nice to see. And there it flies. As we had the opportunity to identify it, it flew. Well done, Catherine, for identifying that. That is fantastic. And yes, it has come all the way from the north. It is coming to breed, coming here for the insects. Now, a question I want to ask people, because this one comes from right up in the north. How is it possible that a cuckoo can come from the north of the Sahara all the way down to South Africa and still breed, when a lot of other birds that come from north of the Sahara, European rollers, European bee-eaters, white stork, all of those birds that come far, far, far away, they come here and they don't breed? How is that possible? That is a very good question I'd like to pose to you there, and maybe you can comment and give it back to me shortly. We're going to move forward. We are at Chitwa Dam, folks. The hippos are there. There are some Egyptian geese, always here, and I saw a beautiful bird sitting in the tree, very characteristic of the African savanna. Let's see if he's still sitting there. I was actually sitting here on my interview drive in the exact same spot. Pretty sure it's moved a few times since then. So just an update on the weather. It seems like the storm is going to bypass us, but it has definitely cooled things down. It is a lot cooler, but it also means that we don't have to race home to put on the roof, which we're quite happy about. You see up in the tree there, Wildy. We all know this bird. I believe it was voted the second favorite bird for a South African. The African fish eagle. As he sits perched, he's been doing a little bit of preening. You can see there's a feather hanging off of the head, probably from leaning back and doing some cleaning of the body. The feather is stuck. Perfect place for the fish eagle to be here next to the dam. Diet of mainly fish, but not only fish. Up in the Etosha Pans and places like that, the fish eagle actually is quite a big predator of the flamingos up there, which is a bird that is a lot bigger than a fish eagle, and they somehow managed to pick them up and take them back to the nest, which always is quite bizarre. I find quite incredible. Yes, able to pick up prey 2 kilograms. A bird only weighs 2 kilograms. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine that? 2 kilograms, about just over 4 pounds. Oh, there we go. We have mommy with her babies. Now, the fish eagle would be very keen to take one of those, but the Egyptian geese are very good parents. Very good parents. You can see those little ducklings or goslings. Egyptian goose is actually a duck, not a goose, but we do call it a goose. Boggles the mind. But you can see what they are. They have hatched similar to that, like chickens. They hatch out of the egg and they're able to follow mum around. And if you looked at them, you would see that they were very sort of fluffy. And the difference we have in ground nesting birds, or precocial birds as we call it. Precocial birds are those that nest on the ground. They lay eggs quite larger, and they're able to follow mum around very early. There's minimum parental care. We call those downies because of the down feathers that they have to have. They're often in a nest that's exposed to the sun, and those down feathers are there to protect them from the elements when they are just leaving the nest. Babies in nests in the tree are called hatchlings. They require lots of parental care. They are born with naked and with very closed eyes and very, very helpless. So from one animal with precocial babies to another with not precocial babies, we have James with a baboon.
This is marvellous, everyone. We're sitting here with a troop of baboons. It was very funny when we arrived. They looked like naughty kids that had been caught doing something nefarious, which most of the time, of course, baboons are, if they happen to come in contact with human beings. But they're not doing anything nefarious. Now they're eating white berries. They're trying to fill their bellies with as much white berry bush as they can. And they've also been turning over logs and looking for scorpions and grubs and other little things that they might find lurking underneath the wood. That's very cool. They're just sitting in the long grass there. Let me go a little bit forward. They do tend to get a little bit sort of scared when we move around them too much. But if you can get them for any length of time, you will almost certainly be thoroughly amused by what you see. Kit Kat, you say, do they make a nest or shelter or sleep on the ground? Well, again, a bit like I was saying with the lizards earlier, it depends on the family. Some of them live in sort of palatial opulence in various complicatedly constructed shelters. I'm not talking rubbish, Kit Kat. They don't sleep on the ground. They avoid being on the ground any time after it gets vaguely dark. They'll climb up a big tree and they'll roost in the trees. They don't have a shelter. They have some sort of favoured roosting sites, so they're favoured places to sleep. But there will almost always be tall trees above drainage line areas. That's because that's where most of the tall trees are. Or sometimes on the roof of a lodge or something like that. They quite often do that too. Don't construct any kind of shelter, no. They're not that deep. Nor do we think are they that intelligent. Marvellous. Very nice to find them out in the field as opposed to in the kitchen. There's another one just popping out into the open. Yeah, Scarlett, not very is the answer. You say, how close to baboons can you get on foot? Really not very close at all. If I was to get out of this car, they would run for their lives. They would, and that's not because I'm particularly intimidating. It's just that they don't like human beings. They know that they perceive us as predators. David's got a cough, don't you, David? Got some pneumonia there. All right, on we go. I think he's probably laughing because of the reaction that baboons have to us in camp. I mean, you walk out of your room and there you find them sort of looking at the kitchen like this, and then they look to their mates and then they take off. And, I mean, a baboon could tear a human being apart. There's no need for them to run from us. It is just amazing how human they are in so many of their mannerisms. Alrighty, on we go down toward... There are plenty of elephant tracks everywhere. None of them going in the direction that I want to go. Anyway, we might have some luck. I think what we're going to do is go to Taylor in the Maasai Mara, and I think that she has a sunset to show you.
Almost sunset, not quite just yet. What I am going to try and do for all of you is silhouette a giraffe. But they're not cooperating. They're moving downhill. Go back up. Go to the top. Turn around for 2 seconds. They're not listening to me. Anyways, thank you to James Richard, who kindly gave me the information as to when we found that crowned crane nest. It was the same day as the Marshall Eagle versus Water Monitor sighting, and it was the 16th of December. So we should be seeing crowned crane chicks, I would think, within the next week, hopefully, if all goes well. The incubation process works. So we'll keep checking the river road. I'll tell Jamie and Brent as well, and or Rolf be on the other side of the river. I'm sure he'll find some crowned cranes of his own. So we can just try and figure out exactly what they look like when they're brand new, when they're brand spanking new. I think it would be quite cool, and we can try and follow them as they get older, because I don't know how to age crowned crane chicks, not even one little bit. This is the first time I've seen them. I think it's the first time Brent has seen them too. So I think it could be quite a nice learning experience. I was going to show you giraffe, but they're now escaping me and heading into the forest. It's very windy all of a sudden, so I don't think that they're enjoying the wind too much. Maybe we'll get a quick view. Let me just go up a little bit further. So, because what I want to do is I also want to turn and show you the sunset. So I just need to go a little bit ahead, and then now we have to turn. Please don't be a hole, please don't be a hole, please don't be a hole. Took a gamble there. There we go. Straight ahead. There are two giraffe, but this is the best one. And it keeps sticking its head down into the grass. I wonder what's there. And licking its lips. Maybe a nice tasty shrub. It looks like a young male. Let's see what he's going to do. I don't know if he's going to drink water, if he's going to eat on a small shrub, if he's going to pick up a bone. He could be doing a number of different things. Yoga. Downward facing giraffe. Ah, that looks very much like he's trying to have a drink of water. Are you perhaps struggling there? There's a dam. Now, there is a dam very close by. Maybe 150 meters away from this giraffe. So, I don't know why it's trying to drink out of a small puddle when it could access the other water a lot more easy. Very thirsty though, the way it's licking his lips. Come on, make a decision. This is the most indecisive giraffe I've ever seen in my entire life. Jacqueline, you said, oh my goodness, so beautiful. That's the tone that Megan, who's directing, read it in, so I just thought I'd repeat it. I'm so glad you're so excited. It is interesting to see giraffe do these maneuvers, especially because they're so big and gangly. Look at this one, going right down, even bending its front legs. And then you can see that it is drinking water, because when it shakes its head, it gets a bit of spray. That oxpecker doesn't appreciate the neck shake so much. I can't believe that it's chosen like the most awkward spot to come and have a drink. Silly giraffe. This Maasai giraffe has got beautiful patterns on it though. Just almost completely disappearing into the grass. It is quite special to watch them drink water. And the golden light as well, just catching the drips as they spray away from him. Very, very cool though. We are so lucky to see this all the time. Now, okay, very quickly, because the sun is about to disappear. I almost forgot that I wanted to show you a sunset too. We have to do this because it's so beautiful. Up to the left, of course, where the sun sets down in the west, is the most gorgeous sunset, of course, silhouetted with all the trees and the Olololo escarpment. All we need now are some tall creatures walking on top of that hill. That would be beautiful then. That would be the real cherry on top now, wouldn't it? I can't believe how windy it's turned out to be today. It's interesting. Anyways, it's been a good day nonetheless though. It's always nice to start your day with a sunrise, and we had... was I on game drive this morning? What did I even see? I can't even remember what I saw this morning. But anyways, I'm pretty sure we watched the sunrise a little bit. It was a bit cloudy. Or was that the other morning? I can't remember. We did have the sunrise this morning. Yes, we did. I'm going crazy. This day has just flown by. Anyways, it was a great one. Yes, we had the balloons. Thank you so much for reminding me, Adrian. I can't even remember what I did this morning. I couldn't even tell you what I ate for breakfast today. But there it goes. Just sitting behind the escarpment now. And it goes down so quickly. I don't think it's going to be a magnificent sunset like some of the ones we've had. There are a few clouds in the sky. But not as spectacular as we've seen before. I think our sunrise this morning was a lot better. But let's carry on. We've got to keep going up the hill. Oh my... Look, you've asked such a difficult question. I don't know, I need to think about this one. It's if you could ask one animal one question, what would it be? Probably going to be an elephant. And the animal that I asked, what am I going to ask the elephant? I need a moment to think about this very quickly. Let me just gather my thoughts, because that's tough. Only one I'd ask. Is there a genie involved? Can I ask for 100 more questions? I wish it was something like that. But okay, one question. Does it tickle when you slurp water up your trunk? I think I would sneeze a lot. That's what I would ask an elephant, if it tickles. How does it do that? Amazing. And then when it sprays it out, does it still tickle? I think I could have thought of a better question. There's so many things I'd love to ask an elephant, and a lion, and a leopard, and a hyena. I wish I could just have the power to speak to all the animals. I would have the greatest safari ever. You would never see me inside. I think a lot of people would be quite happy if I could speak to animals, because then I would stop bothering them and nagging them and trying to get as much attention from certain people as possible. So there we go. Somebody give me the power to speak to animals, pretty please. I think it would be amazing to be able to do it. That's my one wish. People want to fly. People want to be super wealthy. All these different types of things. I just want to talk to all the animals. That's all I want to do. But I'm sure there are a lot of people out there who would also want to do that. Make sure we don't fall into these ruts. Done that before. Don't want to be repeating the same mistake. Can't have two people getting stuck in one day. Right, it has been a day of many feathered friends up here in the Mara, as well as down in the Sabi sand, and Steve has got another one to add to today's list.
Welcome back, folks. Please don't go away. Sorry, that was a bit of a joke. We have got a go-away bird here with us, and he is panting quite viciously, if that is the right word for it. There he is. He's also busy feeding as he moves around. Enjoys seeds and berries. Quite a frugivore. Not so much of an insect eater. There he's also eating fresh shoots off of that little knobthorn tree. But the name go away, they actually say it. In Afrikaans, it's called a kwe fool, because that's actually what they say in... They go quack, quack. They don't go away, but we have translated as the go away bird. but a beautiful bird nonetheless. A lot of people would ask why it is not a Turako anymore, or a Luri. Interesting question. Why is it not a Turako? Does anybody out there know? First of all, it is very grey. Panting, panting, panting. Beautiful birds though. The shape and the size, everything about them is very Turako-like, but they don't have the coloration, folks. They don't have the coloration. And I believe there's a question being asked there. If I could ask an animal one question, what would it be? Wow, that is a very good question. I would wonder if you know, the amount of times I've seen leopards lying there with their belly in the air, I'd ask him if I could scratch that for him. I don't know if it's a wise choice, but it's not the best answer in the world, the best question in the world, but that's what I came up with in a short space of time. This is a wonderful view of these go-away birds. See that panting. And little ant running along. He's not going to eat the ant though, folks. But we're going to stay here with these go-away birds. We are in the vicinity of where the last sighting of the wild dogs were. No one seems to have found them, so we've been doing a little bit of our own reconnaissance because we didn't believe them, but we've come up short ourselves. It's possible they've just moved off. But while we continue in search of these dogs, James, I believe, is at another dam, and he's up at Buffelshoek.
I am indeed, and as predicted, one hippopotamus. Hello, Scuba Steve, a very shy hippopotamus. Things played out precisely as they did yesterday. He went from the shallows over the hump into the new deep bit, and there he is now, hiding from you. I don't know what it is about you that intimidates him like it does, but he's very clearly terrified by something you do or say to him. I don't know what it is exactly, but there it is. Thanks very much for frightening away the hippopotamus. Quite contrary to my sort of admonition that there will be a three-banded plover here, there isn't. But there is a pair of Egyptian geese. Can you believe it, David? Are you not so amazed to the point of gasping for breath? There they are, having a stately swim. I don't know if this is the pair that is, well, to my mind, the worst parents in the Sabi sand. We had some here that managed to birth, I suppose, would you say, birth 2 clutches of eggs, numbering some 14-odd, about 20-odd babies, all of them dead, all of them eaten one by predators. Whereas if you go off to Chitwa Dam, of course, you find that the parents there are a lot more successful, seem to do a lot better at raising their youngsters than the Jippo geese this side. I suppose we can't all be good at everything, David. One thing that you are good at, of course, is filming. And there is a swallow that keeps coming back and leaping down to the surface to have a drink. And it's now gone. Wait, follow, no, don't follow that, that's a dove. There they are. Do you see, David? Coming back around, down again. Well, we sort of saw it. You may have got 1 pixel on your screen. There we go. Well done, David. Spork in the road, you're wondering why it is that the Djuma Dam's filled up and not the Djuma Dam, the Buffelshoek Dam's filled up again and the Djuma Dam has whatsoever. But it's a very valid question, and I was just thinking the exact same thing when we arrived here. I don't know. I can only think that the water table up here, we're slightly higher up, or the underlying geology may be slightly different, and so the water table rises more quickly in this area. I really couldn't tell you. thought there's no ways that this particular area has had more rain. And also this drainage system, the drainage system that feeds Buffelshoek Dam, I think is I'm going to go with geology here. If you go to the top of the drainage system that feeds the Vuyatela Dam, you'll find that on the way there's a huge amount of sand. So obviously the soil there, I think, is quite a lot deeper than it is here. If you walk along the drainage line that feeds, or the stream that feeds this dam, I think there's a lot less sand in it and probably a lot less to absorb the water, so maybe that's got something to do with it. I really, it's difficult to say. I'm no hydrologist, I'm afraid. Okay, we're going to move on from here. I don't know where we're going to go. In fact, no, I really don't know where we're going to go. I think we'll go that way. Oh, Willow Wandre, you say, has anybody looked at Scuba Steve for long enough to judge how old he is? I think a hippopotamus expert could have, yes, probably. I have not. In fact, this might not be Scuba Steve, this might be an entirely different hippopotamus. It's almost impossible to tell unless you spend extended periods observing their ears and the cuts and those sorts of things on their backs. He's a young bull. They've got a potential lifespan, interestingly shorter than something like a rhino, of around about 30 years, 35 years. I don't know. I'm going to say roughly 12. But I really don't know. All right, is on Chitwa. I don't think those dogs have gone far, so hopefully he'll have some luck very shortly.
Thank you, James. Yes, sorry folks, we don't have any real news for you of the dogs apart from the fact that we are right now on the southern boundary of Chitwa, and there are some tracks we saw on the road there that have crossed what seems to be south. The guys aren't talking too much on the radio. I think they've given up hope on the entire situation. But while we're driving, there are some stationary things we can talk about, and over here we have a lovely grass. You see this, a beautiful tall stand of grass, quite characteristic in its design, and this is called yellow thatching grass, and it is a very beautiful tall grass, and you actually can, yes, you can thatch with this. It's not the best thatch in the world, but you can thatch. And if you've been to South Africa before, I'm not sure if it's done anywhere else in the world, but we are master thatchers in Africa, and it makes for very nice roofs, keeps nice and cool. But you can see the shape of the heads here. It's very messy, it's very jumbled, it's all over the place. But what you can do with this grass as well is that actually, if you rip the roots up, because it's also known as turpentine grass, you can rip the roots up, which I'm not going to do now because that's just unsustainable, and you smell them. And there's an actual turpentine sort of smell to it. And this is related to a species in the same family, which is actually called turpentine. Not turpentine, citronella. And you can get citronella oil from that grass. And what locals used to do back in the day is they used to weave their baskets with this grass, because it's got quite a strong smell to it. Not now, because it's still quite fresh, but as it gets older, it's full of fiber, it's full of chemicals, it's not well eaten, and so they'll weave their grain baskets with it, keep the grain aside. It apparently kept away the rodents. What can also be done in the evenings with these little flower heads here is you can actually throw them on open coals, and on the coals they give off a bit of a smell, and it keeps the mosquitoes at bay. Something quite nice to do around the fire. I don't think we're having one tonight, so I'm going to leave this here, but a beautiful tall grass. You can see it there standing, turpentine grass, very huge in fiber, lots of fiber. You can see the leaves now are probably quite edible. Not so edible, but this time of year they're still green. You'd probably find animals touching it a little bit, but lots of fiber. If you look at fiber in plants, it's not easy digestible, so it's generally left alone by your selective feeders, but a very important grass such here. It's one of the species that I quite enjoy talking about. And on that note, we're going to jump back on. We're going to keep going around Chitwa, see what else is happening. blessing. Oh, just dropped my cushion. Blessings for the cloud cover that's come in. I hope you're enjoying your afternoon so far. Let me just plug myself back in. As I just move out of this position, I mentioned before that we're on the southernmost boundary of the Chitwa area. Connie wants to know if animals have taste buds. I don't know. They have tongues, so I'd be surprised if they don't have taste buds. Oh, you hear the woodland kingfishers are going a little bit mad up here. Apologize, I'll come back to your question. Off they go. Connie, you ask if they've got taste buds. What I do know is that in trees you get tannin, and tannin is quite bitter. In grasses, we talk about sweet and sour grasses. Let me find an example for you here. You can actually taste in a lot of grasses, you can taste the sweetness and you can taste the sour in the grass. Apparently lions have 470 taste buds. That is phenomenal. I don't know what that is compared to humans, but I'll give you a little example here of grasses. Now we're not going to eat the grasses ourselves, but it's a nice test to do is you take the grass stalk like this and you try and pull out the entire inflorescence and you get this beautiful juicy little bit. And you eat it. It's a little bit sweet. It's not too much. It's not bad anyway. Let's do another one. That is signal grass, by the way. Here we have another one. Oh, you don't want it to pop out like that because then it doesn't give you the growth point. That is actually a little bit sour. And this is sawtooth lovegrass, which we know is actually not a very palatable grass. And the party trick, once again, the reason why I'm pulling it out and tasting at the bottom, this is where grass is actually growing. Grasses grow from the base. They have basal growth. They grow right from the bottom here, right from the base. If I just clear this patch a little bit for you here, grass all growing out from the bottom. That's why we can mow our lawns and the lawns keep growing, because if you don't cut it too short, you're allowing that basal growth to keep going and we can keep managing it. That's why when herbivores feed on the grasses here, as long as they don't feed too low, like wildebeest and warthog do, the grass is actually stimulated. But the problem with too many warthog and too many wildebeest is they can cause a problem there. But that's off the topic. Let me see if I can find the nicest. Oh, here we go. Here we have found, oh, this is red grass, Themida triandra, which is not playing ball with me. It's not playing ball. Sometimes it just doesn't work. But what can you do? But this is a very sweet and a very palatable grass. Can you see that? A lot of people confuse the turpentine grass with this one. But this one is red. It goes red. And the florets actually have a little three. Very, very easily seen in this one. Over there, you can see it's almost like the cool surfer dude. He does this, whereas the turpentine is a jumble and a mess all over the place. Okay, well, he's not playing ball. He is. That's beautiful. I could eat that all day. I was looking for the buffalo grass. I can't find any. There we go. I found one. And this is, for me, the best tasting grass. It's juicy and sweet. It's got a lot of moisture. I was actually on a run today with James and Dave in the 38-degree heat. It was probably not the best thing to do. I only ran about 4Ks. What's that, about 2.5 miles? They ran all the way back to camp, a total of 6. But at one point, James was like, maybe you just stay here, because and while they were gone, I basically kept myself alive chewing these and getting the moisture out. So that's why I'm on show today, because I'm feeling strong. Buffalo grass, very, very good. So I think the animals can taste the sweetness. They can feel the fiber. Have you ever eaten something that's very tough, very difficult to chew? Most animals tend to avoid that. Obviously, when you're a rhino, and a white rhino, you've got a mouth. And when you've got small antelope, your impala, Steenbok, their mouths are this big. They can really get in there and feed on those beautiful small little shoots and stuff. But when you're bigger, you feed them more bulk, no selection when you're smaller. So I think animals do select what they can, but your mouth parts determine what you can do. If we didn't have hands, we'd probably struggle trying to eat. You've ever seen that game when people put an apple in a bucket and bob for it? It's very difficult to eat that way. If we had to eat on our hands and feet with our mouth, I think we would have a very different diet from what we have today. We now have all sorts of implements and toothpicks and sushi and Jason, 10,000 taste buds apparently people have. That is incredible. So we definitely have acquired. I wonder if we've acquired those. Or our sweet tooth and savory tooth and all that sort of stuff. But it's wonderful to be out and to talk about the environment in that way. Because when you look at animals, you look at their mouth parts, think about how they're supposed to feed. Have you tried to eat with chopsticks? It's something you have to practice, but it enables you to eat a different way. And trying to eat just with your face, very messy, and you aren't invited over for dinner parties. Well, I wasn't ever again. Oh, hello, ladies. Here we have a beautiful little sign here. Is that all right, Wildy? Right there, eh? Wonderful. I wonder if they know there's wild dogs nearby. The animals have been very relaxed in the last little while that we've seen. There hasn't been too much in the way of skittishness. Which means that they probably have no idea that there was a possible leopard nearby. But then, all I'm thinking is these animals live on the constant edge of their seat, constant fear. That's one of the wonderful things about being on foot out in the African bush. If you've ever done it, you will know what I mean. Even if you don't see any animals, even if you don't encounter anything, there are tracks, there are signs, there is stuff out here that brings you into the moment. As you're walking through the wilderness, you're smelling, you're tasting the air, you're feeling it. Your mind is racing with all the things that you were thinking about or not thinking about. You're not thinking about home. You're not thinking about anything other than right now. And I think we can take a leaf out of the animals' books. They live life in the moment. Yes, I've seen animals mourn. I've seen when their youngsters get killed. But it doesn't take long for them to just get over it and carry on with the next step, because that is the story of life here in the bush. Life is short, and I think it's a lesson for us at home. Life is short, so we should live in the moment. We shouldn't regret things. We shouldn't put things off until tomorrow. We shouldn't be fearful. And if we are, let it go. Accept that you're fearful and then let it go. Move on to the next step. Take up those goals that you put forward for 2018. Be like a Nyala. Blend in with the environment and just coexist happily as they are doing. They're not doing any damage. We can definitely learn from these creatures out here. And that's what's wonderful about being in the bush, is that these animals live here so naturally, so peacefully. Yes, there's death and there's chaos, but that is natural for this environment. We watch it on TV for sport and for fun. So I'm just going to put this here quickly. You see, this is that turpentine grass. You see, it's a lot messier than the red grass that we saw. Okay. So James is busy searching for some animals. We're going to continue on our quest here also to search for some animals. Who knows what we'll find?
Who knows what we'll find, Who knows, as the old cliche goes, you just never know what's going to be around the next corner. And you don't. And we don't. We don't even know which corner we're going to turn next. That's how little we know. No one has driven this road that I'm on now since the lions were here, the Styx Pride. They have since absconded to Mala, which is well to the south of even where Stivovo is, down the Chitwa. That's that direction there. But I haven't found anything else of any interest on here. We did find a cinnamon-breasted bunting. It had 4 birthdays before you came to us, though. Claire, you're wondering about golden orb-web spiders and where they are. I think, much as I said last year, and my answer to that question last year was the drought which we had the year before that, I think created a a catastrophic population decline in the golden orb-web spiders, from which it has yet to recover. And we've had a relatively dry year last year, another relatively dry year this year, and I just feel like the population probably has sufficiently, and we'll need a couple of good years before the population does recover nicely. That drought, I suspect, wiped out a lot of them, and probably also wiped out a lot of the eggs that they would have laid. Look at that. That is very pretty. Don't you think, David? Yes, so pretty. I'm going to take an illegal photograph, David. It just never looks quite the same though, does it? Alas and alack. Anyway, we'll see what I can do in post-production. It really is very beautiful. So someone's getting rain today. That looks like it's over, or south of Hoedspruit, maybe Hoedspruit, and south of that, up into the mountains of the great Drakensberg, the Dragon's Back. Unfortunately, we are not going to be part of that particular rainstorm. But I do believe that it's going to be fairly cloudy tomorrow, and therefore I think that this cloud will eventually make its way over the top of us. Now Scarlett, you ask when are the marula fruit going to be in season. The answer is very soon indeed. And what's also interesting about that is that they fruit at different times of year in different places. Up near Palabora, where I used to live, they fruited almost always in the middle of December, and so Christmas time, they came in time for Christmas, which was ideal, because when the marula fruits up there, so many and so numerous are they, and so many litres and kiloliters of marula beer are brewed and then consumed that no one can really function in the area for about a month. It's very convenient that that's over the Christmas period. Here, it's normally, I mean, this time last year, I think we're already starting to get a few this time last year, but it would normally be sort of middle of January to February. Now there is a hardy-dar ibis, David. Do you see it? Quite possibly our most exciting sighting of the day. No, our lizard was much more exciting, our le Gavan. There is the hardy-dar ibis, everybody. Scourge of those who have drunk too much marula beer in the evening and wake up feeling as though Thor is doing his repair works in their skulls. And of course it's because of the noise that the hardy-dar makes. It was designed specifically to make headaches worse. David, would you like to imitate the hardy-dar for us? Oh, this will be wonderful, everybody. Are you ready? David's debut as a hardy-dar. On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. That sounded like the Joe Cocker of hardy-dars. Very nice, David. I mean, if a hardy-dar was to sing Unchain My Heart, or with a little help from my friends, I imagine that's the voice it would use. The hardy-dar looks deeply unimpressed. I knew that was coming. Now it's my turn. Okay, here we go. Oh, we can't. There's a vehicle coming. Look at that. We can't possibly. There's a vehicle coming. Okay, I'll do it quickly. Are you ready? Ah! 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 I'm sure after that incredible rendition, you will find that vehicle is going to stop there and say, "Can you hear the hardy-dar ibis? I've never heard one call from the ground before." Aye, ninjani kwalana? Koke kahle ngopfu. Sinak, you're wondering about the hardy-dar nest we used to watch. You mean around Twin Dams? It hasn't come back again. And, you know, they made those 3 beautiful little chicks last year, and they, I think, were eaten by something. Then we found another nest at Chitwa just during our TV shows, and they were on that nest for about 2 days, and then they disappeared. So I don't know. Neither of them were very successful. But clearly some hardy-dars are being successful, because they are certainly not in any shortage in this part of the world. Nor in many parts of South Africa. They used to be fairly endangered, apparently. And I've told this story before, but as we have nothing else to look at, I'll tell it again. There was a fellow, a South African Formula 1 driver, a hell of a nice guy, called Eddie Kaizen, and he sadly died. I think it was early last year. And he was a great lover of nature, and he spent a huge amount of money. While we look at that red-backed shrike there on the tree, can you see it there, David? Spent a huge amount of money. You know, he made a lot of money, and he spent a lot of it transporting animals to and from to game reserves and that sort of thing. And he used to regularly have lions in his caravan, you know, being transported to new reserves and that sort of thing. Anyway, he was so put out by the sound of the hardy-dar that he bought himself an air rifle, and he he used to climb out of bed. His wife described this to me. He used to climb out of bed. I'm not sure that is a female redback shrike. Maybe it's a baby one. Climb out of bed on a Saturday morning in his underpants, and then lie on the floor in the prone position and just part the curtains ever so slightly, poke the barrel of the air rifle through the curtains, and then take pot shots at these birds, which he thought were vermin. I mean, he thought they were sort of, he didn't even know if they were indigenous or not. He thought maybe they were from somewhere else in the world, like the Indian myna, for example. Anyway, he used to think this was quite a good story, so he told it at a party of the who's who in Johannesburg once, one of which was also, well, he's now late as well. That's what we say out here, they are late. The late Kenneth Newman, wonderful ornithologist and illustrator of birds. And when Eddie Kaizen shared the story of his air rifle and the hardy-dars, of course, Kenneth Newman went predictably apoplectic and informed Mr. Kaizen, erstwhile lion conservator, that the hardy-dar is in fact a threatened species. So if he could kindly desist from shooting it on the Saturday morning simply because he'd overindulged on the Friday evening, that would be much appreciated. Anyway, he felt very bad about it, and I think his air rifle was only thence used on his children. Okay, let's carry on. Oh, there's a car coming past. I think they've just seen a hardy-dar. Hello, how's it going? Are you well? Good? Hello, everybody. We're just going to go across to Steve while I talk to these good people. Are you all well?
Talk to these good people indeed, James. You are such a professional and very polite man. We have a crossing. We are on the cut line again, folks. And we have some crested francolin that have just crossed the road. We saw some of them earlier in this little covey of francolins, and they are also quite hot from the afternoon, but they need to be very, very careful, because we just saw a juvenile martial eagle, but unfortunately he moved off a little bit and was just on the other side of a marula, and we couldn't get a good shot. But he would love to come and take one of these as a little snack. Juvenile martial eagles are as formidable as their parents, maybe a little less practiced, but nothing stopping their ability to kill small and unsuspecting francolins that are lurking in the grass. And there they are in the scratching around in the little undergrowth there for seeds. This time of year, francolins are feeding almost majoritarily on small insects and grubs, but they'll be feeding a lot of seeds as well. So we're carrying on along this way. We're going to go back to a little bit further north. We had some reports of Tingana in an area earlier this morning. We didn't manage to find any signs of him. We've had no luck down here with Hosana or the wild dogs as possible. They've both crossed, all the vehicles down here aren't giving us any information, so we're going to go back up there. Maybe it's cooled down a little bit more. Maybe he's going to come out. You never know. You never know. We could be lucky. Haven't seen the old man in some time. Today might be the day. Ravi asks, are there any kind of sparrows? What kind of sparrows do we find here? Sparrow weavers we don't get in this area. The common house sparrow, no, it doesn't occur in the park itself. They frequent human habitation. The Cape sparrow is the same. We get the grey-headed. The southern grey-headed sparrow is the only sparrow species that I am familiar with that we find in the area. Quickly, we're going to James. He's got some things very special.
We've got the dogs, everybody. We were standing talking to those good people over there, and the dogs have come running along here. I can't. The guys behind us are pointing. They're going to come down here, I think. Have you got them, Dave? They're still coming down this way. Can't see any movement. There they are. I just saw them. Just saw them moving. All right, here we go. Isn't this wonderful? Here they come. They're coming down through here, Dov. There they are. There they are. I think they're going to go straight to Twin Dams. I just want to try and get a view before we go down there, because here they are, right here in front of us now. Marvelous stuff. Get my fat bonds out of the way. Wonderful. Isn't this just the best? Now, I think this is that alpha male that we identified yesterday in this little pack. Here come the rest of them. Oh, and I think our recalcitrant friend, remember there was the very lazy sort of type Z wild dog coming down yesterday, and he was right at the back all the time. This is marvellous. Look at them all running past us. The youngsters, 3 youngsters. Yeah, no, there's the Omega at the back there. That's the fellow. This is fantastic stuff. Right, let's just stop here. I think they're probably going to go down towards Twin Dams. I hope that they don't go to the south. It will be dreadfully sad if they do, because we're right now on the southern boundary, in case you're wondering. Now, we will do an action broadcast to Facebook if these fellows don't go to the south. So let's just wait and see what happens for that. I feel a little bit sorry now, because Steve's just pulled up behind us on the road. And unfortunately, well, these dogs gave him the slip today. Now, they're going south, I'm afraid. Just got these fellows here. Oh, that's very sad. They are going into Little Gowrie, I'm afraid. They might have a bit of and you never know. Or stop to have a drink. Do a big swing around of. That's as good as we're going to get. I'm sorry about the signal breakup, everybody. There's nothing we can do, I'm afraid. Oh, this is just special. And I can smell them, and they're going to smell even worse after they've been in that muck, which is great. Can't believe we've had them 3 days in a row now. No, 2 days in a row, 3 drives in a row, 4 drives in a row. Oh, very, very special. Apparently there is a smudge on the lens, David. Sorry about that. That'll be because of my driving, not because of David's what's the word I want? Not tardiness. No, never mind. Let's just look at the wild dogs. Ah, this is great stuff. Right, well, let's see what they do. We can't go further towards where they are, but they could very, very easily turn on and come back towards Djuma. You can hear the beautiful sounds of the red-billed buffalo weavers. Oh, Bobby, you say you want to feel their fluffy tails and ears. Well, Bobby, I would wash my hands after I did that. I think they're quite dirty fellows. But, yes, I could certainly imagine myself sort of in close communication with a wild dog. I don't know why I've had this dream. We have a dog in Kenton where I go to see my parents, and he loves to run, and we run on the beach together, and I've often thought to myself, can you imagine people's faces if you were running down the beach with one of these things, and how wonderful that would be. But of course dogs love to run. They run much further than we do, and I think it would be quite difficult to maintain a wild dog in that sort of situation. And so, yes, it would be nice to feel their fluffy tails, I suppose, but they are apparently not domesticatable. Now, I think you'll find, this is a very interesting discussion while they sit there doing not much. What I think you'll find is that if you were to try and domesticate them, I think you probably could eventually. Wolves were domesticated some 10,000 years ago, I think. It was that long ago. And basically, if you took a wolf out of the wild now, it would, I think, behave in much the same as one of these wild dogs do. But over the course of generations, of course, they've selectively bred, human beings selectively bred to the most tame-natured of wolves that eventually became the dogs that we have today. Everything from the magnificent Staffordshire Bull Terrier to the slightly lamentable Chihuahua come from wolves. Now, I don't think that in Africa that attempt was ever made, simply because it was probably just not worth it. And so if you were to go through that same process and spend the amount of time that they did with wolves early on, I think you'll find that you probably could domesticate them eventually. That is not to say that we're ever going to try and do that, but a lot of people will say, well, you can't domesticate them. I don't think anyone's ever really tried. In one generation, yes, probably not possible. Over the course of 20 generations of selectively breeding, the calmest ones, or the ones who like to be the most sedentary, yeah, well then maybe. For example, that Omega dog at the back, who has definitely got the complete polar opposite of a type A personality. Janet, we had a long discussion on this yesterday, and the reason I say that is not because I don't wish to answer the question again. It's simply because it's quite difficult to answer. You say, what's the average lifespan? Well, in Kruger, apparently about 70% of the dogs, I may have said 80 last night, but I think it's 70% of the dogs are younger than 5 years old. So what that means, of course, is that they very seldom live beyond 5 years. I think they probably have a potential lifespan of around 10. That would be my guess. We're very lucky that they're hanging around here, I must say, and not disappearing off to do their hunting, which I think they will do eventually. Well, now that's a fascinating question from Miguel. I've said that nobody's made the effort to try and domesticate them, and you say, is it perhaps worth trying to selectively breed them in order to preserve the species? Wow. So let's pretend that we don't capture dogs in the wild, because we have sufficient of them in zoos around the world. And I don't think they're being selectively bred for their sort of natures. But maybe if we did do that, I don't think that it's even possible for them to mate dogs. So were we to have domesticated African wild dogs, it may well not compromise the species at all. Yeah, that's a really interesting thought. I wonder if anybody's thought of that. So one day, in a few years' time, maybe I will be running down the Kenton beachfront with a wild dog, sending people scattering in all directions. I just think they are the most wonderful creatures, as I'm sure all of you do. Yeah, Biana, absolutely. You say, does the Omega get bullied? Absolutely, it gets bullied. It's almost the very definition of an Omega dog. Same as in a baboon troop, actually, and same as in a hyena clan. Animals that are not dominant and that do not have the ability to assert themselves do get bullied to a certain extent. I think you'll find that it's probably far less prevalent in a species like wild dogs. And that's because they tend to live a slightly more egalitarian life. So they do look after each other. They've spotted something in that waterhole. I suspect another lizard, the likes of which we found earlier today. Now, I'm going to warn you, I think we may well have to move out of this sighting because there are thousands of people here, or descending. There are about to be huge numbers of vehicles scuttling into this area as fast as they can. Oh yes, Scarlett, they do. You say, do wild dog packs ever receive a name? Yeah, they do. I just don't know what this pack is. We have the Investec pack. I think Investec was the bank in South Africa, gave some money to wild dog research, and so they were called the Investec pack. We've got the Angama. This might be the Ngala pack, actually. They come, well, they were sort of first named at Ngala, which is where I cut my bush teeth, about 50 kilometers to the north of where we are now. Yeah, so they do get named often after the area in which they're most often found. Now we've got a couple of punters driving up in a Volkswagen of some sort, waving very happily at everybody. They're not part of the sighting, so we don't have to leave. Paula, you want to know if I've ever seen wild dog pups? Yes, I've seen wild dog pups many times, but the time that sits in my mind is at Ngala. In my second year of guiding there, maybe in my first year actually, they had a den at Ngala, and we spent months going in and out, watching the tiny little things from the day they were born until they left the den and left the reserve. And I mean, we had a big reserve. There was about 15,000 hectares we had, and even that space wasn't enough to contain them, so they disappeared after about 2 or 3 months. But we had a wonderful time. We used to arrive there freezing cold winter's mornings before the sun came up. We had to get up very early, drive there, and sit there shivering before the adults got up to go hunting. Because if you didn't do that, you'd miss the pups. The pups would come out with the adults just before they went hunting, and then what they did was they'd go back inside as the adults went off hunting, and then you'd have to wait for the adults to come back. All right, just before one of these dogs does what the one on the left is doing, which is, of course, having his constitutionals, let's go across to Steve, who has got a hyena.
From one predator to another, good noses and good smells. We just spooked this poor lady from under this bush. She was having a little sleep in the coolness of the large-leafed bush willow, and she just moved off a little bit because of the vehicle, but she seems quite relaxed. Let me just go up a bit there. Wildebeest. Beautiful light VM was just saying a moment ago, say when you're happy. Just saying a moment ago, now the sun has come back. This is the light we need for these beautiful shots of the predators. And she's gone. I hope some of you got a screenshot of that. So I believe Tristan had tracks of the hyena dragging that afterbirth all the way down the road here this morning. And there's talks, I think James was saying, there's possibly talks of possibly a new hyena den nearby. And with her being just here under the bush, it is very, very possible. But she seems to have just disappeared there. I can't see her again. So we're going to leave her to her afternoon slumber. And we're going to continue on and see what we can find further down the road. One more chance though, will we get her? She's in the drainage line there, folks. We're not going to drive off-road for the hyena. And she knows that. She's gone and tucks herself in there. And she's gone. Beautiful camouflage. Sorry, ma'am, for disturbing your peace. I'm sure we drove past here earlier. No, we didn't. We were on the other road. So she's probably been there sheltering from the heat. And also maybe preparing for the storm that came and went and brought no rain to the Sabi sands. It's definitely raining somewhere, but not here. The light is perfect for those photographers out there. So we're going to continue on our mission, see if we can get into the area of where Tingana was last reportedly seen. And I believe Mr. Henry is still with the painted dogs.
I am with the painted dogs still. Nobody else is coming. We can spend as long as we like till they disappear. Distressingly seem to have a semi-flat tyre at the back. And it's becoming less and less semi-flat as time continues. Never mind. I'm sure we can fix it in due course. Now, James Richard, who's knowledgeable in such things, says that these are... what's the matter, Dave? This is how I protect my face from the sun. It says this is the Investec pack. So thank you, James Richard, for that. It is very kind of you to keep us posted. And then a question... Oh. Excuse me, we're leaving the dogs. There's a baby leopard over here. Shadow's cub. Everybody, lots of signal, but Shadow's cub here 2 days ago. No, yes, time much better suddenly. Where? Can you see, David? Oh, she's just down here. Oh, there, going down to the... Just, can you see moving there? You got her there. I think it's not Barbara. There she is. What I'm going to do is go around this side, and we won't disturb her. This is unbelievable. I can't believe this. I'm really excited to see this little leopard. Sorry, hold on, everybody. Whoa. Sorry, David. There she is. You got her, Dave? Just there, on the bank. See? Left? Right, sorry? No, left, sorry? That's it. Just zoom in, now go right. Just trace the bank to right. You can see it moving now. Up, 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 up. There. Right, right, right. That's it, you've got to... How's that? It's not Barbara. Hello. With the tortoise. Oh, wow. What an evening we've had now, hey? Isn't that special? That is just great. Now, sorry, I do apologize. There was a question before we found this little leopard. Shadow's cub. Shadow is now a 10-year-old female, I think. Adrian, you wanted to know if wild dogs only eat meat. Yes, that is what their digestive systems are designed to cope with. They will graze the odd bit of grass every so often, the same way that domestic dogs do. But you will find that they don't eat much in the way of what we call here e-pole or dog maw, which are grain-based dog foods. And in fact, no dog should eat any grain-based dog food. Dogs from the lamentable Chihuahua and Dachshund all the way up to the magnificent Irish Wolfhound are not designed to eat grain-based foods at all. And so, yeah, they all should be on a meat diet, basically. Now, those chaps the other side there have got the most wonderful sighting of her. I just want to give her a bit of space. The guys who are viewing her now found her, and she's totally relaxed with them. Isn't that amazing? Hello, Monique in London. It's a while since I've heard from you, I think. You say, where is Shadow? Don't know. But I think Tristan had the tracks of Shadow going into Little Gowrie where those dogs were yesterday, so she's probably out hunting for this little thing. Oh, it is wonderful. Now look, she's playing. By playing, I mean she's almost performing for the vehicle that's in front of her, or behind her. Just being curious, like young leopards are. Oh, she's great. Now, she is just a year now, if I'm not mistaken. Almost exactly a year old. Almost exactly a year younger than Hyena and his sister, who we think has unfortunately left this mortal coil, Shongile. What a great sighting of a little leopard cub. How wonderful was that? I'm afraid there are a lot of people trying to come into the sighting. We're going to be thankful for that view. We will see if we can get one more view of the dogs, but I'm going to leave the leopard because there are a lot of people coming here. Stations, I'm going to leave this young leopard with Elvis. One station here, I think there will be one on standby now and two others responding. Okay, while we go and see if we can get another view of the dogs, let's go over to Steve, who I'm sure is extremely jealous.
Extremely jealous. Someone has got all the luck this afternoon, Mr. Henry. I think maybe it's because you were so kind and came and fetched me up off my... Oh, I'm sorry for that. Sorry, Wildebeest. I nearly lost Vian off the back. Oh no, we have a branch in the road. We're just going to quickly go around. It's more than a branch, it's a tree. Yes, Mr. Henry, you are super lucky. And we were standing by, not far from the wild dogs, in case they came back into our property for a bit of a chase and a hunt. We were going to double up on the camera there, and we were waiting right there by Twin Dams. How did we miss it? I don't know, but we did. And, well, that's fine. That's the way it works. At least James got it, which means you got it, which is fantastic stuff. And we are not far away now from where Herbert tracked Tingana this morning. I'm trying to get there quickly, purely because we are running out of time on the show. And wouldn't that be an end to the show for you folks, to get the big man doing something? VM is very excited. I saw a number of cool birds on the way, but he said it's leopard time and I must not get distracted. So I think it is one of those afternoons where absolutely anything can happen. And with the wind suddenly changing and the coolness from this potential storm, the light has changed. It is a phenomenal color in the sky, and the leopards are probably going to be moving. We never know. We never know. Wildebeest is kind of under the impression that we might just see him walking down the road here. Wouldn't that just be a treat? But yeah, we will get into the area soon. Whoa, and we're going to continue on, folks. We'll be back with you shortly with an update, but I believe Mr. Henry is back with those dogs.
We're live. Oh, I must have pulled my... No, I didn't. Hello? Okay, well, we're live. Kirsten, just give me a sound check again, if you wouldn't mind. Oh, no. Not working. Anyway, we're back with the dogs. David will tell me if we lose our signal, or if we're not live anymore. The cat is just behind us, not far away, thankfully moving slowly away from these hounds, and wouldn't really be in any danger, because, well, what she would do is... No, I'm getting no sound at all. What she would do is just climb a tree. She's well big enough now to climb a tree. There we go. Now I've got her back. I don't know what happened there. Never mind. We're back with the dogs. And unfortunately there is now another vehicle pulling in. We might have to think about leaving. Yeah, I think we probably will. Let's just sit here for a few minutes. We don't have long left in the drive, so I think we'll sit here for a few more minutes. Just make sure that they don't cross to the north onto Djuma, because if they do, then we'll just extend the drive and keep following them. But you see, they're getting up to move now. Just beautiful stuff. Alright, I'm sorry about the breakup on the picture. It is because we are quite close by to the very southern boundary and the lowest point. We are aware of it and very sorry for any, well, inconvenience that it is creating. If they run along the road, I'm not going to follow them. I am down. We'll just stay with myself. Interesting behavior that we've seen here. Once they get moving, they normally actually move. Apparently our signal is too awful. Let's go back to Steve. I'll hang around in a better signal area and see what happens.
We are almost at that place, folks. Not quite yet. Got to keep our eyes open. Unfortunately about James's signal, but I'm sure they'll figure that out and get back to you shortly. We are now again on the western boundary, approaching Triple M. This is where the last sort of position of Tingana was reported, and when we came back we had tracks over here. But let's see. We may be lucky. The light is a bit different, a bit easier to see under the trees right now. VM has got me highly concentrated. I'm not looking at birds, VM. Can't help myself with the birds. Okay, well, we are in the area, but there doesn't seem to be any cat. We're going to just drive up here just a little bit. There's a vehicle just up there. They might have an update for us. I can feel the excitement though, folks. It is inside. That is a staff vehicle. They will not be giving us any updates. Looks like some staff on a game drive. Very good, very good. One of the perks of being out here is to get out and get some education as well. Good afternoon, good afternoon. Enjoy, eh? Sharp. They look like they're enjoying themselves. Yes, the light is beautiful. Should we give them a little view there? There is the light. The sun on its never-ending quest for the horizon. There are no words, folks, for the sun. It has been worshipped by many a culture. It is the essence of our existence. That was very deep. Let's continue, V. See what we can pick up. So while we continue searching in this area for Tingana, I believe James has got a leopard for you. A little bit more luck on his part. Okay, so I believe you're having some technical issues with James. I did hear him on the radio communicating with the other guys that he was going back to Shadow for a little bit anyway. And we are definitely going to be extending this afternoon's game drive, folks. There's just way too much happening. Ooh, and the corrugation. Way too much happening for us not to do so. I'm going to turn around and go back to where we were because we don't see anything here. Watch the bump. So as soon as James' signal comes back on, what have we got in the road there? We have a giraffe. That is my first giraffe that I've seen now in the Sabi Sands. Fantastic. Just when you think you haven't seen something spotted, the giraffe comes out of the bushes. He's on the border, folks. Do I want him to go to Djuma? Arathusa. Djuma. Oh, here comes a friend. They've come from Arathusa. And they're wondering, is the grass greener on the other side? He's not so, or she's not so tentative about her movements. Straight across. Okay, folks, we're going straight back to James. He has a leopard on the move.
Well, we do have the leopard on the move. Because she's on her own and she is little, I'm not going to bash through the bush there after her. There also are quite a few vehicles coming in to see her. So we just got very lucky with one more view of her. We'll try one more. Go around here. There she is. That's Texan. Going in to have a look. There she goes. Beautiful little thing, probably straight up onto that termite mound. Her brother Sindile used to do exactly the same thing. And is he going up? You can just see the spots there on the left. There she is. You know what? I think she's sufficiently relaxed for us to just pop up there and have one more look. David, we've got black picture. What happened there? Did you close the lens there? Did you get a fright? Everybody, I'm sorry about that. Hello, you sweet thing. All of you have, which of course is little, so small. There we go. Up you go. I'm sorry. I mean, move slightly forward. That'll do us just fine, wouldn't you say? I might even take an illegal photograph, purely for research purposes. Hello, my dear sweet thing. It is very nice to see you. And you're all saying thank you for extending the drive. Let me assure you that it is absolutely no skin off our noses to be extending this drive. Is it, David? David is not scratching his nose one little bit. Oh, she's lovely. Hey? I don't suppose we can get a spot pattern, can we? We can try, hey? Baboon. 3, that's easy. And 3. There we go. That was very simple. Thank you, David. 3 female. Now, for those of you who are wondering, I'll just quickly explain it again. I think some of you are probably getting a bit sick of it by now, but I'll do it anyway. Her name is not Barbara, and her name is not Barbara either. She doesn't have a name yet, and she'll only get a name if she... Well, there are 2 ways she'll get a name. Firstly, if she becomes independent, and then the people who found her first will give her a name. Otherwise, what will happen is that you... well, what happened with Hyena and Shongile, we named them very early because we found them, and obviously with our audience it's much nicer to have a name for the leopards, so we gave them a name early. So if we start seeing her more regularly, it's entirely possible that we will name her fairly soon. Okay, we're going to go across to Steve now, and I've been told because he has another leopard tortoise.
And you are back with us, folks, and indeed, VM was correct. We did come along the road and we found what we were... semi-find what we were looking for. VM just didn't quite finish his sentence, folks. I'm now on foot with a leopard tortoise. It's just behind the grass now, but we are in the area that Tingana was last seen. Couldn't help but have one final remark from myself and the Wildebeest, seeing as James having all the luck. The Wildebeest and I have had a great afternoon. This is a very old leopard tortoise. He's got beautiful long nails over here. We're going to leave him be. He's made it to the other side of the road. He's going to do some grazing. He's probably going to have a beautiful night, and I hope you do too.
All right, linked to us unexpectedly. We're going to have one more of this leopard, and then we're going to... She's now, unfortunately, being a bit nervous because of the closeness that some of those other vehicles are driving. They've now noticed that, and they're pulling away, which is good. Okay, so now for the second night in a row, what I'm going to say is roll credits. Kirsten, are you rolling the credits? We really need to get our timing on the credit rolling much better than this. Is she rolling the credits? I can't hear anything. 20 seconds. All right, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us on our drive today. It's been very splendid. Thank you for your questions and your comments. Big thank you, of course, to Steve and Ralph, who got stuck, and Taylor. We'll see you tomorrow at 0500. Goodbye. I've lost her.